We are off and running. Hello, everybody. It is Prof Sales coming at you with a new show. Gosh, I come up with a lot of shows. I need it to be like a production director or something. But welcome to our first edition of Connect, where we're gonna try to let you connect with some different resellers that maybe people that you haven't been exposed to, you haven't heard of yet, or and maybe selling some different things and doing some things different. We're gonna make sure our sound's good here. Can you hear us well out there, Karin? Should be coming on now. And but we'll make sure our sound is good before we get too far into this. So Tino, if you can say something. Tino, this is Tino. Everybody say hello to Tino. Oh, you got muted there for a second.
Yeah, hello everyone.
And we also, and Tino is in Dallas, Texas, right, Tino?
Yep, Dallas-Fort Worth.
Dallas-Fort Worth. And then we also have Dawn, who's here from near Colorado Springs, correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
Hello.
All right, so we got Dawn and Tino, guys. All right, so we are going to hit a bunch of topics tonight. We'll definitely answer some questions and so on, but let's hold off on those for a few minutes so we can get you guys introduced. So Dawn, why don't you tell us a little bit about like who you are and your background and what it is exactly, how you got into reselling and so on. Just kind of give the folks an idea about what it is you do.
Okay. My background as far as work has always been accounting. I've done taxes for 14 years. I just gave it up a couple years ago. But I recently finished my master's degree in marriage and family counseling, and I'm a addiction counselor. So just to kind of supplement my income, I think more out of necessity, I started selling like many people do around the house. I have a 9-year-old, so I started selling his clothes. It was just a natural thing to get into. And I get more and more excited about it, the more I do it. So
awesome.
That's how I got started.
All right, well, we will get a little bit more into what it is you sell in just a moment, but let's take a moment now and hear from Tino. Tino, tell everybody about yourself a little bit.
My background, I was in the pawn business for almost 7 years. And I just got burned out. I was working 7 days a week. And then I just quit. I just up and quit. I was just fed up with it. And I actually quit without even having another job lined up. But I became a valet in the Dallas area, and I worked with them for a while. And I broke my big toe on a curb. I just ran right into it, broke my toe. So I was laid up in my house for, I don't know, close to 6 weeks. So I was just getting on Craigslist and looking at some new stuff that people were selling, and I came across this guy that was selling a bunch of lighters, and for $2 a piece, I bought them and made a killing off of it, selling them on eBay. And I didn't really know that much about selling on eBay at the time. I learned so much just selling those antique lighters, and I got hooked. I got an addiction from it. And after a while, it's hard to find antiques all the time to sell.
Right.
I'm not going to go into what I'm selling now yet, but I just, my wife had, me and my wife were just like, wow, we're making so much money. Let's do this full time. And she was on board before she even knew she could sell on eBay. She was just like, I'll quit my job tomorrow. And I'm like, well, let's wait and see first. Let's see if we could do this. And then we kind of started it part-time, and then we ended up quitting our jobs, and we're doing it full-time now for a little over 2 years now.
So, well, you said you weren't going to get into what you were selling yet, but that's actually what I'm going to ask you about next, because
okay.
What platforms, Tino, we'll start with you. What platforms do you sell on, and what is it primarily that you sell, and why did you go in that direction?
Well, we sell used shoes.
Okay.
And when we first started, it was like antiques and collectibles, but it is hard to find antiques and collectibles. Well, it was hard for me to find them, to sell them full time. I needed to find something that I could have unlimited supply. And I was at an estate sale looking for collectibles, and this estate sale was packed, and I just kind of got pushed into a closet, letting people through, and I found a pair of boots in there, and I was like,
wait a minute. You first found your item to sell online because you got pushed into a closet in an estate sale.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
Yeah. So I was just like, well, these boots are in here, and I recognized the name, and I'm like, you know what? These have got to be worth something. So I paid right around $10 for the pair of boots.
Okay.
Brought them home, put them on eBay, and I think I don't remember how much they sold for, but we made quite a bit of profit on just those. And I'm like, you know what? Shoes and boots are untouched. You know, a lot of these estate sales, you show up to these estate sales and there's 60 people sitting outside waiting for it to open. And I'm like number 45, the 45th person to get in, and I'm like, everything's going to be gone by the time I get in there. But all the shoes and boots, no one wants those except me.
Right.
So that's why I kind of target shoes and boots. I could go in and out of a thrift store in 15 minutes and be on my next thrift store. So I could hit, you know, anywhere from 10 to 12 thrift stores a day targeting shoes and boots. It's efficient. So
wow. That's a cool story, though, that it kind of happened to you by accident. So
it did.
That's interesting. Lots of people have stories like that, but that's the first time I heard somebody got pushed into a closet and that's how they started reselling or found what they wanted to resell.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So what about you, Don? What about, you know, what sort of platforms do you sell on, and what is it you've chosen to focus on, and why did you choose those things to sell?
Okay. Well, the thing that kind of got me hooked was my son's jeans. He's a picky dresser, and I have all these really nice Levi's, and you know, and I thought, well, these are too good. They're brand new to take to the Goodwill. So I started doing little lots, and they would sell, and I'd make good money. And so before I even knew going to Goodwill was a thing, I would go to Goodwill and get another pair to make a pair, you know, get a lot of 3 together. And so that's where it started. And truthfully, I only sell on eBay right now because I'm just kind of afraid of everything else. I haven't ventured to Amazon yet. I don't feel like I'm good at the arbitrage stuff, going to stores and finding stuff on sale. So, the clothes is what I'm comfortable with. I'm a woman, I wear clothes, so it's kind of easy. But I still struggle with, is that my niche? You know, is that what I need to stay with? You know, so that was a question I had for Tino is, you know, how did you know? But I guess you're in a closet.
I know, that's crazy, isn't it? So
yeah.
So you chose clothes because, again, like you had clothes that were in your house and you decided, no, I'm going to, instead of donating these, I'm going to resell them.
Yes.
Have you stuck with men's or women's or kids, or do you specialize in a certain type of clothing, or what does that look like for you?
You know, I'm kind of all over the place, but lately I feel like the men's clothing is going better for me, and especially the big and tall. It just sells well.
Right.
So,
right. Agreed. That's cool. I mean, so many people, it seems like in reselling, that's what happens to them. Like they come out of like a, you know, all of a sudden they have something laying around their house. And they're like, I wonder if I could sell this. And turns out most things you can.
Yes, you can.
I always tell this story. I saw someone once on eBay. Someone had told me about it, and I went to the link. They were selling empty tubes of toilet paper, the cardboard tubes. I don't know what for, and people were buying them in lots. Maybe they were making crafts with them, but I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. You know, so there's a market for that, but apparently there is. So never doubt the power of eBay. All right, so Dawn, so how would you? Oh, I lost my earbud. How would you describe yourself? I mean, it sounds like you still have a job.
I do. I work about 25 to 30 hours a week.
Okay.
So I have several days off to devote to this, and I tell you, there's nothing like hearing that cha-ching on your phone in the morning, or you know, whatever you're doing. So I honestly would love to go full time selling on eBay. I would love. So that's what I'm working towards. I'm listing because I got carried away with my shopping, and I heard Nicole say, you know, just today I was watching a video that you have to stop that. You have to list. So that's my goal right now, is to get my listings up there and see what I can do. And
how many items do you have listed, if you don't mind sharing? If you do, that's fine.
No, right now I have 168, I think, and that's the most I've ever had.
Great.
Yeah, when I first started, I had 3 or 4 things, and I don't know why. It never occurred to me that I could do more than that, and until I realized my photos were horrible, and I went, YouTube to try to find some help, and that's when I found this whole community, and it's been amazing, just amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're solo, correct? You don't have like a partner or anybody helps you out, or?
No, not yet. I have a friend who he does really well. He finds expensive watches at Goodwill, and so I flipped one of those. We paid $3.99 and sold it for $85. So that was
Nice.
One of my bigger, so.
Very nice. All right, so and what about you, Tino? I believe you are full-time, sir, after I saw the pictures of your garage.
Yes, I am full-time eBay seller. Me and my wife, we are full-time. Yeah. We do have 2 employees now too.
Two employees? And what do your employees do for you?
Well, we hired one of them as a manager to do everything that I can do, minus the picking part. But everything here at the office, to do everything. Package, ship, do returns, the customer service part of it, they could do that. The warehouse organization, everything. They'll know how to do everything and handle everything. Just in case if me and my wife want to take a vacation, the ball will keep rolling while we're gone.
So I thought I would take a moment, Tino, and I talked to you about this earlier. I wanted to show everyone Tino's garage, otherwise known as his warehouse, just to show you guys, because I know a lot of us in the reselling community, we think, I'm out of space. I don't know where to put this. It's not organized. Let me show you guys a picture here. We're going to do a quick screen share, and this is Tino's garage. So hopefully you guys will be able to see this okay. This is what he has in his garage. And I'm going to keep going through this. He sent me about 6 pictures. So Tino, describe for us what we're seeing here, man, because this is a ridiculous number of shoes, sir.
Yeah, there's probably a little over 2,000 pairs of shoes in that garage. And what I did is I just took a picture of every aisle that we have in there. Every pair of shoes does have a location, just in case somebody has a question about them. We could just go in there and grab them really fast. When they sell, we know exactly where they're at. We do put them in kind of in their own category, just in case one of them is in the wrong location. We know about what area to start looking in, just in case,
Right.
But that's I should have taken better pictures of these.
No, they're great. I love this one at the end. That's why I saved it for the end. This reminds me of like a shoe store. I started counting. I was like, this is like 150 pair of shoes right here, just in this photo alone.
Yeah.
And you said it's close to how many shoes in your garage?
Right around 2,000. Everything in the garage is active listing right now.
Wow, 2,000 items. So how long did it take you guys to get up to this kind of volume?
I would say close to 2 years.
Close to 2 years. Okay, so did it start out in your garage, or did you guys start somewhere, smaller, like a shoebox?
It started really small. I mean, it started in our apartment when we started in the apartment, and this is when I was doing the antiques and the old collectibles and stuff like that, until I just started junking up the place. And so, yeah, but now that we are in, we're not in a really large house, but we're in a 4-bedroom house right now. 3 of the back bedrooms are offices. One is the photo room where we take the photos, and that's where we do the shipping as well. The other room is where we all hang out and do all of our work. And then the other room is just kind of like an overflow room where I clean the shoes and just kind of like a staging area. But we do have a baby on the way, so we're gonna have to kind of reconfigure everything. So we don't know.
Oh, nice. When is your wife due?
February 3rd.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, Tino had emailed me, said, hey, sooner would be better because we're gonna have a baby. So in the month when I sent all these invites, he's like, we could do it sooner. I was like, that's a pretty good reason. It's decent. But, well, man, that's, hats off to you, because that has got to be the biggest shoe warehouse I've ever seen in someone's house, easily.
Yeah. But we're planning on getting something bigger in the future. So
Really? So do you ever lose items?
have we ever lost any items? No, we never have. We have shipped out the wrong pair of shoes before. I hate to admit that, but we did. And boy, was I mad. But that will never happen again. I know that for sure. But
well, I was going to ask you too, because Dawn and I had talked offline and in the pre-show, and one of the things that she's trying to refine is her picture process. Now, I was looking at your store before the show, and your pictures of shoes and so on. You obviously, well, I'll let you tell it. Why don't Dawn? Maybe why don't you ask Tino? What is it that, like, at pictures that sort of is you're struggling with, you're trying to figure out, because I think he's got a pretty good system going on, and maybe he can shine some light on it.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely feel like that's what's held me back the most is my pictures. I, of course, not having any money starting out, I've had to kind of build up and get some lights and build up and, get some things. But I still feel like that's what I struggle with. So that would be my question. How did you perfect, your pictures?
I bought a light kit from Amazon.
Okay.
And I'm going to turn I actually have one of the lights right now that I pulled from my photo booth. So
awesome.
it looks like, I don't know if you can see it, but that is it right there.
Okay.
Cool. So I have three of those to where it takes a lot of the shadow out. And I used a very neutral background. I didn't use white, and I didn't use black. I used like kind of like a khaki color.
Okay.
Background, and that just seems to work the best. So khaki color background, lights coming in just about every direction, and the white balance on your camera. If you could adjust that, you're golden. You got everything you need.
Do you use your iPhone or a?
No, I don't.
Camera?
I use a Sony. It's just a point and shoot camera. Nothing fancy.
Okay.
It's not a DSL. It's not one of those big.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right.
It's a small camera. My wife's getting it for me right now. I'm going to show it to you. But it's just this little thing right here.
Oh, wow.
So, but
yeah,
that's what it is. But I'd have to say, pictures are probably one of the most important things that you can perfect when doing a business like this.
Right, especially with shoes or clothing, right? I mean, because people can't try it on. All they can go on is what you show them.
Right. Yeah.
We had a question or two in here I wanted to get to while we're at it. Susanna had asked, Tino, aren't shoes a very long tail flip? What brands and types sell best?
A lot of men's Oxfords and loafers. A lot of those shoes can last a lifetime. You could resole those shoes. So a lot of like Allen Edmonds, they're usually retail for about $400. If you buy them straight from Allen Edmonds, they're about $400 on average. Some are cheaper, some are a little bit more. But when you wear those shoes out, all you do is take them to the cobbler. They'll put a new sole on it for about $80 to $85, or you could send them back to Allen Edmonds. They'll refurbish the whole shoe for you.
Oh, wow.
And those shoes will last forever. The leather will last forever. So Allen Edmonds, any type of vintage FootJoy shoes, a lot of shoes that are made in Italy and Spain. That's what I really look for. There's a lot of brands. When I first started this business, I had no clue what I was looking for. I just wanted to make money. So when I'm going up and down the aisles, if I see something that's made in Spain, that's when I pull up my phone and I'm like, okay, this might be worth something. So that's how I really started learning. So a lot of the leather soled shoes, chances are they're going to be worth something. So
okay. I think Mike, this might have been Pittsburgh Mike. Was it, Karin? Yes. Mike had asked, Dawn, why did you choose to go in this passion? Sorry, we're switching gears for a minute. Why did you choose this particular course of action from counseling? I guess kind of making that transition.
Sure, I know it's kind of strange. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy my work. I love helping people. Kind of like Tino said earlier, it's almost like an addiction. I don't know how to explain it. I can bounce up out of bed in the morning and I'm gonna go list 25 items. I love it. I'm fortunate at work. I kind of can have my phone and I'll hear that cha-ching and I get all excited. I really don't know. I don't know. I just love it. I love going out sourcing.
Right, right. So that brings me to kind of a question, Dawn, because I'm full-time and Tino is full-time, but you obviously have another job and you're trying to do that along with reselling. So what does that look like? Like, what's a typical day look like for you, Dawn, in terms of, obviously you've got your job, you've got your reselling as well. What does it look like for you? How do you juggle those two worlds at the same time?
It can be tough some days. I'm up late at night, packaging, getting things ready. So typically before I go to bed, which is very late, I package everything I've sold. And when I wake up in the morning, there might be something else, so I have to do that, package that up. And then on my way to work, I drop everything off at the post office. I'm at work, I manage my best offers, I come home and do it over again. So it can get, it's a bit much some days. Over the holidays was crazy, but I loved it. I had a lot of sales. So
do you keep a set schedule of all that, or do you just kind of take each day as it comes?
I'm trying to get into a schedule. Like I have 3 days off, so I'm kind of part-time. So, I have my days I go source. I have times I try to list. So I try. I have, a 9-year-old at home, so you can only plan so much with kids.
Right. So that's like a separate full-time job right there, right?
Yes.
So, so Tino, what about you? Like, now obviously you and your wife are both involved in this, and you said you had a couple employees, I believe. So yes. What's a typical day look like for a full-timer who is selling some shoes, it looks like?
Okay. Well, the one employee, the manager, will come in, jump right on the computer and start answering the questions, see if there's any canceled items that don't need to be shipped out, to where if he's just answering a lot of questions first, and then go into packaging items. After that, they would typically go in and start running numbers.
Okay.
Just updating all of our numbers. And then if I went picking the day before, that person would help me enter the inventory for our spreadsheet to keep everything organized. And then after that, they would just go straight into listing items. The other employee, just the full-time lister, would just, as soon as that person comes in, just start listing. And that's all they do until they leave. That's the most important part of the job, is just to get items listed. So just one just does nothing but listing.
How many listings a day do you find how many do you ship out a day? If you don't mind sharing, if you do, that's cool. And how many do you end up putting up a day on average?
Yeah. For one employee working an 8-hour shift, they on average, they could list 35 items.
Okay.
And then the manager won't have the same amount of time to list. So I would say that person would average about, 10 items.
So like 45 items a day.
45 items a day. That's in the perfect world, which I don't know. That seems high. I would say 40 on average.
Okay. Is that what do they work 5 days a week, or
5 days a week? 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, off on the weekends.
So a couple hundred listings a week, basically, which is really, really good.
Yep.
But I would imagine with a couple thousand listings, you have a decent amount of sell through too. Yes,
that is true. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's a couple other questions here too. Susanna asks, Tino, do you sell summer shoes in the winter or wait to list them?
I list everything immediately when I find it, and it'll blow your mind. I will sell sandals at wintertime, and I'll sell winter boots in the summertime. So there's no rhyme or reason. Stuff sells. So
what about you, Dawn? Do you find that there's a seasonality to your clothing, or do you just find it sells all year round? I know I sold a bathing suit today, which I thought was kind of funny. So anyway,
you know, I thought I was going to pack sweaters away and I was going to start getting out shorts, but I just started listing everything, and I sold a pair of Columbia shorts yesterday, and it's a blizzard outside here, so yeah, it sells.
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, it almost seems like there are no seasons when it comes to clothing for eBay. People just buy whatever year round. I mean, Tina, you're probably selling sandals, like you were saying, you know, like even now you're selling like not flip flops, but like sandals. I saw you had some Clarks on there and so on.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite sandals, by the way. So, so a little plug for Clarks there. If anybody wants to throw some plugs, throw some Clarks Prof's way. All right, let me get to my questions here. I'm getting off track. So let's talk about sourcing for a moment, because, all right, so we got two different models here. We've got a part-time model, a full-time model. We got clothing, we got shoes. We've got you know, this number of listings, that number of listings, and you got two different areas of the country that you guys live in. You, Dawn, I think from what you're saying, you live in you live near a decent sized city, but in a smaller area, whereas, you know, you live in a pretty large metropolitan area, it sounds like, if you're Dallas, Fort Worth. So what's your sourcing look like? Where do you guys find things? What do you find to be the most fruitful? And, you know, how do you maximize? I'm always about time efficiency. How do you maximize your time sourcing so you don't spend a lot of time spinning your wheels, like going somewhere where you know you're just not going to find what you need to find for your business? We'll say, Dawn, why don't we start with you? I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. You know, when I first started thinking I could actually do this, I started going to, you know, the regular Goodwills and whatnot, and I spent hours combing through, and big mistake, you know, I would pay too much and then I wouldn't make any profit. So then I discovered the bins, and we do have one in the town closest to me, though I can drive to Denver and there's 3 or 4, I think. But yeah, the bins just make sense for me. I do still go to the Goodwills, and I'll find some new tag things that I can make a good profit on, which I have done. So it's just learning. You know, watching these videos has helped me, watching Nicole and Lindy and everyone. It's been amazing. So, but I did make those rookie mistakes at first, and I felt like I paid too much. So the bins have literally saved my life.
So your sourcing could be described as you really have a bin strategy, because, I mean, you're selling clothing, which makes sense because you can just get a huge bulk for a really cheap amount. Is it cheap in your area, the bins?
They're in Colorado Springs. I think they're like $1.29 a pound. I've made one trip to Denver, which was amazing, and it was like 88 cents. It turned out per item, so I think it was 90 cents or something like that. But
right.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, obviously, when you can get items under $1 a piece,
yes,
I mean, you can sell like virtually anything at that point. So what about you, Tino? What does your sourcing look like for your business?
I usually target the big box stores. Lately, I've kind of been skipping over Goodwills. You know, I'm right in between. I live right in between 2 Goodwills, so those are the 2 that I'll check here and there when I'm out, you know, on my lunch break or whatever. But for the most part, I really like the big thrift stores in the DFW area. I don't know if anybody's watching that's from here, but there's Thrift Giant. And I mean, these thrift stores are massive. I mean, they're just about as big as the Savers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Savers.
We have Goodwill here, but I've heard, obviously I know of Savers. What about you?
Yeah, I've heard of Raiken Profit talking about them, but
yeah, no, we don't have anything like that.
Okay. But they're really big. I could walk in there at just about any day of the week, not even on their sale day, and I'll be walking out with 2 trash bag fulls of shoes, you know.
Wow.
So it's amazing. They go through so much merchandise there, and they have 5 or 6 locations out here. So I'll hit them all, you know, pretty much in any time I'm going to go out picking. I used to go on their half off day. They have half off days every now and then.
Right.
But their shoes are $6. So I could either buy a pair of shoes for $6 and sell them for $45, or I could buy them for $3 and sell them for $45. That, you know, that $3 doesn't make a huge difference.
Sure.
So I don't really schedule it over their sales days anymore. I just go whenever I can.
So let me get this straight though. So you're not really going. You said you were going to big box retail at the very beginning of that. So what does that look like? Like, are you talking like Marshalls or where are you?
No. I just meant big box thrift stores. Like,
oh, okay.
Like a huge warehouse full just of thrift stores. There's quite a few of them out here, but just the smaller Goodwills that have like 3 or 4 aisles of shoes. It's a gamble, and I just don't like gambling. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is here at Goodwills. I mean, we usually have, your last picture of shoes that you have there in your garage. That's about how many an average Goodwill might have. Actually, might even be that many, and that's including kids and I don't know. It's real hit or miss. There's a couple questions I want to get to here, guys. If you guys have questions, please type the word question or 3 question marks so we know it's a question. Karen's feeding me some questions, and I'm trying to keep up, but you guys are getting ahead of me. Wicked Picker asked about how many photos should be taken of shoes. What are the angles? That's going to be a little hard to describe, but I guess you can do your best with that, Tino. What photos how many should you take, and what do you think at angle-wise?
For a pair of shoes, you should have a minimum of 10 pictures.
10?
Yeah, I would say 10. Yeah.
Whoa.
People are really picky about their shoes.
Karen, you're going to have to take more pictures.
Yeah, and eBay will actually allow you 12, I believe, right?
Right.
So what I do is I take one like this. That's 1, 2, and then I get the other one, 3, 4, and then the whole thing 5, and then I'll do 6, and then the back 7, 8. And then the size, I'll get right up on the size, and that's 9. And then usually I'll see like a scuff or a mark on something, and that'll be the 10th picture.
Okay. So like a defect or a flaw or something like that.
Right. And on a used pair of shoes, 90% of the time you're going to have something like that.
Right.
So you just take a picture of that.
Now, what about you, Don? How do you feel about now you're photographing clothes, obviously, which is obviously kind of a wide range of things, but what's your theory? I know you were talking about trying to figure out your photos a little better, but what have you found to work the best in terms of representing them the right way?
Well, I feel like my mannequin has helped since I got a mannequin.
Okay.
Yeah. I tried the flat lay. I just haven't gotten that down yet, but I tend to sell a lot of jeans, and I do all of those flat lay. So
right. Me too.
Yeah. One of your first videos is the ones I saw to show me how to do all that. But
cool.
Yeah, I still feel like I'm just kind of out there. I haven't settled on any one thing yet. Haven't found my groove yet on what I want to do. But so it's kind of all over the place. But the mannequin, I feel, was the biggest thing that helped.
Yeah. So, and obviously the mannequin, you provide depth in the picture, which is hard to do with a flat lay picture. And the same with shoes too, Tino. I mean, you obviously got to provide some depth of the shoe because it's kind of crazy to think about. There's so many facets of a shoe because it's not that big. But when you started showing all those angles, I was like, yeah, that is 10 photos. So, all right. So let me see what else we have here. There's a few other questions that came in. Yvonne wants to be your friend, Dawn. So you just made a new friend.
I need a mentor.
Tell her I live in Colorado Springs. So you guys, we can make that happen here at Prof Sales. We're making dreams come true on a nightly basis. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Krillin asked, are there any tips on how to get the pics on the hard to reach area, size, and model info? I guess it's a shoe question. Who knew we had all these people interested in shoes all of a sudden? They all I put was shoes in the title, and all these people wanting to sell shoes are coming on the woodwork. You just got a lot more competition, Tino. So what can you tell Krillin and Susanna kind of has another question that sort of correlates with that, measuring the sole of the shoes for width and length, or just put the size in the listing. And then how do you get pictures of the hard to reach areas?
I just put the size of the shoe. I don't. I see a lot of people on eBay. All my competitors, they actually measure the actual, from the heel to the toe. I don't do any of that. It's quantity. I just spit them out. So I just put the size of the shoe, and That's it. I do get a lot of people asking for it, and if they do ask for it, I would say once every 2 weeks, one person will ask, and then I'll just shoot them the measurements, and that's it.
Okay. So Dawn, I want to switch gears here a little bit. We can get back into product specific questions as well. Don't think we're not doing that, guys. But I want to talk to you about what kind of challenges maybe have you faced. I know you talk some. Obviously, you have a job, which I find a job to be a challenge of a different kind. Most people be like, "Wait, a job's a good thing." I'm like, "No, that's a challenge." But what sort of challenge have you faced? I mean, you're newer to reselling. You've been getting your feet wet with clothing, obviously, and you found some strategies for sourcing and so on. But what sort of challenges have you faced? And maybe, Tino, if you can address any of those, great. And then what sort of challenges you found as well? So Dawn?
My biggest thing has been time management. I find myself spending too much time on one article of clothing. And by golly, I'm going to get that stain out if it kills me.
Right.
But then, 3 hours later, there's a hole in it. And so I just wasted all kinds of time. So time management is a big one for me. When I first started, I washed everything. And now, from watching some other channels, there's jeans that come in, they're great. And people are going to wash them when they get them, right? I mean, I do when I buy something off eBay.
Right.
So that was a big one. So yeah, time. I feel like I've wasted a lot of time and I could be way more efficient. So I'm slowly getting there.
That's good though. You identified an issue and that's half the battle right there. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tino, what about you?
I would totally agree with Dawn.
Time management, really?
Oh yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. And I have to keep a mental note when I buy shoes. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I can fix that. I got some shoe glue at home. I'll see like this $100 pair of used shoes and I'm like, I know I can sell these things. But it's not worth it if I have to spend 45 minutes on them,
Yeah.
Because then they ended up getting stuck on the back burner and I never get to them, and then I just get junk piled up, and it's just, yeah, it is really hard to manage time. But I have been working on that. It seems to be getting a lot better. I think.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is we can only grow so much. I'm actually trying to come up with ways to where we can get more items. I'm really the only picker right now, and I can only pick so many items a day.
Right.
So I can only hire somebody that could list, that many items that day. I can't hire more people. I can't grow. So a lot of that has to do with time. So right. I feel like I need to manage my time a little bit better, but that's probably my biggest.
So you've hit the bottleneck in your business, and it's you.
It is me. Yep, it is me. Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because I know we talk about that on my channel a good bit about, what can you pay someone else to do to replace what you're doing? And a lot of us think well, I do it the best, and that's probably true. But like you just said, you reach a point you cannot grow past without having someone else come on, and that's time management, really. Hiring somebody is kind of time management when you think about it, and there's headaches. We get that, but it's, I think we answered, Karin was texting me a question. I think we answered it. Michael, I hope we did. Michael L. had asked if you repair shoes or leave them as is, but it sounds like you do repair them, Tino, at times.
Yeah, I do. I actually have there's a cobbler that I go to, and he cuts me a pretty good deal. And actually, I buy shoes from him. He sold me a pair of shoes. I actually paid $125 for this one pair of shoes because he was like, he's probably not going to buy them. But they were a really nice pair of shoes, and we ended up selling them last week for how much? It was close to $500 pair of shoes, and they were used.
Wow.
I know it, but he must have had to repair them for somebody. But there are times where I'll pay $20 for a pair of Allen Edmonds or a pair of Aldens, put a brand new sole on them, and sell them for $200. That doesn't happen all the time. I wish it would, but there are times where I will go ahead and drop off a pair of shoes to get a new heel put on them or something like that on a special pair. So yeah, I'll fix them. Even a lot of the Tory Burch, sometimes the sole will come off and I'll do a simple repair. I could do stuff like that. So.
And that's it. And that's equivalent, Dawn, I think, to your point of, well, trying to get a stain out of a piece of clothing. But what you always got to think about is, what could I be doing differently with that amount of time? And is this repair or fix worth it?
Worth it. Exactly.
If you spend an hour on it, what else could you have done with that hour? I mean, an hour would be kind of a long time on a stain. That's kind of silly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it's, I soak it. So the garment's, sitting there for hours, and then I'm going back to it. And so, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Dawn, from my standpoint, and with that particular issue, I just don't buy items that have all those defects and flaws. We try our best not to. Karn and I look over pretty well in the store, but stores sometimes are problematic with lighting, and you're kind of in a hurry and you want to get out of there and move on. But even when we come back here, we were just joking about it today. We do quality control, and if a pair of jeans doesn't meet the threshold, I don't fool with it. The time it's going to take me to try to work on that, if it's even something that can be worked on. A lot of times jeans you can't. Like it's a busted belt loop. I'm not going to sew that thing back on. I mean, it's ridiculous. I can't even sew. Or a broken zipper. It's like, just move on, because it's just not enough money in it, to deal with it. So you got to make that kind of time to money, versus the repair / if that calculation makes sense. And a lot of times it doesn't. But with Tino's items, it does, because he's selling at a higher price point, which makes sense. So $20 a repair is worth $200 worth of sales. Sure. All right. So let's talk about, let me see if I have any other questions here. Karen's been sending me questions. I don't want to miss them. Lots of people in the chat. Hey guys, thank you guys for coming out too, by the way. I'm sorry to mention that earlier. 56 people watching right now. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for our two guests who came out here, first time on YouTube, I think, for both of them, right? Yes. So their first times on YouTube, two resellers, and give them some like button love, because it is for them too. Tino has said he's going to maybe make a video about shoes. I don't know what that's going to look like yet.
Yeah, I will.
But if he does, that'll be really cool, because I will be the first one to watch it. Because I know nothing. I know less than nothing, actually. Let's see what other questions there were here, and what was going on in the chat. So, now Rick Morrill says, ask Tino about the silver piggy bank he discovered at a thrift shop while looking for shoes. Is this some sort of story?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it on mute. Yeah, I was actually looking for shoes. Yeah, I know Rick. He's a really good friend of mine. Well, what happened was I just came across. Sometimes I'll hit the aisles, because that was when I was kind of into antiques and stuff like that. But I found a silver piggy bank for $1.99. Well, I didn't know if it was solid silver or anything, so I started looking at it, and it was marked 925 silver with Tiffany's and Company stamp on the bottom of it. So it was a Tiffany's designer piece, silver piggy bank. So I ended up selling it for $600. And
did you go to like the Ronnie Hart School of Picking, man? What is it with you guys finding crap like this?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, man. I was so afraid checking out that they weren't going to sell it to me, but they didn't. They didn't know what they.
They didn't know. They didn't care. I just want to get rid of it.
Right.
Most of the stores do. That's a cool story. I think I found a piggy bank once made out of rubber. It was worth nothing. I don't think it was worth the 99 cents they wanted for it. Tino, here's a question for you, and you could maybe, this could be something that you could, maybe help Dawn with, since she's kind of falls into this category. Is what advice would you give someone who's just getting started in reselling? Now, I know that's a broad question. So, I can kind of open it up to wherever you want to go with it. So what kind of advice would you give somebody who's just beginning?
I would say, Sherry, what would you? Finding a niche is probably the number one. because you really want to focus on one thing. You don't want to be all across the board. And I think, Dawn, you're already there on that.
Yeah.
You know, you already have it. So I think you've overcome the biggest obstacle is finding the niche. And you know there's profit in it, so you're there. A lot of people are in a niche that absolutely makes, it makes no sense. And it's like, but yours does. You know that there's a profit behind it. So I think that's the number one thing. My number one problem when I started was I didn't know how to list an item, and I did everything as an auction. And I see a lot of amateurs on eBay, even now, that list stuff at an auction, and you have to have 2 people within 7 days that want to pay a lot of money for this item. And it's nearly impossible. Well, with the items that I sell, it's nearly impossible. And I'm pretty sure you guys would agree with me. Clothing, you would want to do it as a buy it now and just wait, sit and wait. And that's why I would say listing. List as much as you can. The more you have listed, you don't have to wait as long for something to sell. So
that's a good point you made there at the end too. I mean, you made several good points, but that point about the more you have listed, the less time you have to wait. And just the fact that something sells is empowering. It's encouraging, right? I mean, nobody wants to sit there with a whole store full of stuff and nothing's selling, you know. And it's always funny when you go to these some of the Facebook groups and somebody will say, yeah, nothing's selling. I got 8 items listed. And I'm going, we got 8 items listed.
Why?
That's what nothing's selling. It's like, come on, what do you expect? They're just going to all sell out like that. That would be great. We'd all go buy those 8 items over and over. If that were true. Let me see if there's any other questions here. I don't know if I missed one or not. I'm trying to keep up the chat, but it is flying by. Karin, did I miss a question? Did I miss a question? Oh, well, sorry. She just said I missed a bunch of questions. Well, this question Utah asked earlier, should you sell a variety of clothing items or specialize? I guess we kind of just answered that, right? Maybe sell in a niche, you know, even in clothing, Dawn, there's obviously a lot of niches, right?
Yes. And I don't remember if it was our pre-show that we talked about. I'm finding a lot of my big and tall stuff is flying. I just listed a pair of 4X pajama bottoms this morning, and they just sold a few minutes ago.
Nice.
So, yeah. And they don't even, I have best offer on there, and they don't even try. They just pay full price. So.
Yeah. That's isn't that funny? I mean, just big sizes. I mean, I don't know. There's just such a shortage of it out there in the market. All right, so let's try a couple other questions I had here. We're winding down here. We're in the back. We're in the home stretch. You guys are doing great. My 2 YouTube newbies, but so I feel like the newbie most days. So I want to talk about resources. What resources have you found most useful in business? And Dawn, why don't we start with you? Like, what sort of resources have you found? It could be, you know, whatever you consider a resource really has been really useful for you in getting a handle around this business.
YouTube. People like you.
Ah, that was nice to say. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I would be so far back. I mean, I slowly have been figuring things out, but I'm getting there quicker, I feel like, because of the YouTube community and all of you guys willing to share. You know, I think it's fantastic. I didn't think this was a possibility for me before, but now I do. You know, I really do. So,
right.
Yeah, that has been the absolute biggest.
And and when you say YouTube, is it the information, or is it just the fact that you see people doing something that, you know, or some variation of what you want to do?
A little of that, but mostly the specific, you know, I watch Nicole a lot, of course, and, you know, just the tips and tricks, and, you know, like I was washing every single piece of clothing that I was getting. You know, that was a huge time management issue. So just learning from specific, you know, YouTubers.
Awesome. That's awesome. And, you know, I mean, information is worth way more than a Dymo printer or a box resizer. Don't get me started on box resizers. What about you, Tino? What sort of resources have you found most useful?
Number one, just like Dawn, YouTube.
Nice.
And Prof, I would say I enjoy your videos more than, well, I really enjoy your videos. And the reason I
sense.
say that is you're a systems type of person. You can create a way to manage your time. You know how to cut all kinds of corners and setting a routine to getting everything done in a timely manner, rather than a lot of YouTubers, you know. And that's how I started, is just watching YouTube. And a lot of guys are just all over the board, like, do this and do that, and you know, and it's like, okay, and you're not going to get anything done by the end of the day, you know.
Right.
But if you're going to be a full-time eBay person, you have to have a system set up on how to do it from beginning to end, and that's what I've learned from you. And then my second resource is an app called Meetup. And there is a lot of eBayers in our area that I can meet with them and we can talk things over. And we usually meet up at a restaurant or something like that. So
really, okay. So connecting with other people in your community, and yeah, and that's part of the reason for this series, you know, guys, because I'm trying to make connections here between people that maybe aren't known, you know, and are out there, because there's thousands, you know, for every YouTuber out there, there's 1,000 people reselling probably that you've never heard of, and you know, you can learn things from and make connections with. So I think that's critically important. So a couple questions here came in. Wicked Picker asks about what books does the panel recommend to build your business? You guys, readers, have you read any books or resources that maybe made an impact on you?
I have eBay for Dummies here somewhere. A friend gave it to me as a joke, or maybe it wasn't a joke, I don't know. But you know, I am a big reader, but I haven't come across too much that's helped me specifically with this. I mean, I'm hooked on your videos. So I watch them when I list, and yeah, so I haven't found any. Have you, Tino?
No, I haven't. I haven't read any books. I've read some articles here and there, but videos and experience is where you're going to learn the most.
Yeah, and I think that's true. I think, you know, and I've obviously set a goal this year of reading a book a week, because I just saw a deficiency in knowledge, not necessarily with eBay and the tactics, you know, of selling, but stuff that, you know, things that like Tino was talking about, come up with systems and things like that. Like, there's other things you can pull in from other fields, I think, that you can apply to this type of business, and it'll help you. But yeah, it's kind of, you know, the actual structure of selling, buying and selling on e-commerce platforms. I mean, it's not really rocket science. It's something you can learn the basics in, you know, probably a few weeks even. And well, let's see, there was a couple other questions too. Let's see. I know I missed one. This is a good question. Question for Tino. Michael asks, what's the one thing you would teach or tell yourself if you could go back 2 years ago to when you started?
All I know is I lost a lot of money doing auctions. A lot. And I wish I would have researched the item. If I would have just taken an extra couple minutes researching the item to find out what the item was worth and putting at it, listing it as a buy it now.
Okay.
That's the one thing I would change. All
right. And for you, Don, this one's probably better suited for you. What do you do to avoid bringing bed bugs home?
I worry about that. I hear Casey talk about it a lot. The dryer trick that evidently it will kill things, but so far so good, knock on wood. I don't think I've brought any bed bugs home. I don't deal much with the plush, or, you know, I don't know. I just haven't run into it yet. Keep my fingers crossed.
I haven't either, but I got these weird red marks on the back of my legs. What do you think that means?
I don't know. You might have that checked out.
But anyway, none of those yet. So thankfully,
just the dryer trick is what I hear works the best.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Fortunately, we don't have too many issues with it. Karin's too busy finding money in the pockets to worry about bed bugs. So, all right. Well, I have one final question for you guys. If you guys have questions still left in the chat, I know I've probably missed some of your questions, and I do apologize, but there were a lot of questions. So you guys are really bringing the heat with these questions. So thank you for that. So let me ask, we'll start with Dawn. And I think we probably already know the answer to this question, but I want to hear your take on it. Do you intend to scale this business? And eBay is a tricky business to scale sometimes because of the format. It's not as easy to scale in some ways as like Amazon, because you have to warehouse everything. Do you intend to scale your business up though? And if so, how do you plan to do that?
Well, yes, I plan to. I'm not sure how much one person can do at this point.
Mm-hmm.
My plan is to just keep listing. I watched one of your, I think it was the end of the year or New Year, about, you know, you were writing down the percentages if you have this much listed and, you know, your sales. So I'm just, my goal is to try to get to 800 and see what happens. I worry that I won't be able to do it myself. So, but I think I could find a partner to help.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I plan to, yes, I really don't have a solid plan yet how I'm going to go about that. But.
Okay. And what about you, Tino? Obviously, you have scaled your business to, I mean, I think most eBayers would say a 2,000 listing store is a big store. I don't care what you're listing or what, and especially with something like shoes where you're taking a lot of photos and, you know, have a decent amount of storage since you've converted your garage into a warehouse. So what about you? What are your plans in terms of scaling and how will you get there?
I definitely do want to scale my business. There's no doubt about that. I'm not stopping and I'm not about to slow down. So I'm going to keep going.
Nice.
There are ways I can do it. I spend a lot of time entering inventory, and I think what I can do is come up with some type of spreadsheet that I could do while I'm out picking, to where it's already done, and all I have to do is just hand that sheet off to the hired manager, and they can enter it all in. The pricing is already done.
That sounds like a buy sheet. Amazon.
Right.
I've heard some guys doing that. So I'm sorry. Please continue.
Well, that's just one of the reasons. That's another one way. Another way is cleaning shoes. I do help package in the morning. I don't have to do that, and I usually go picking about 2 to 3 times a week. I'd like to be out there 5 or 6 days a week. I would love to do that, and if that's the case, we could hire 2 more listers, and I would love to do that. So,
yeah. So what would you say, Tino, to Dawn, who is going to reach a scaling issue at some point? Maybe it's 800, maybe it's somewhere else. How does she know when she needs to get help, whether it's in her systems, an employee, more time put into it, whatever it is? How do you reach that point? How do you know that?
Well, if she's going to hire somebody, I would definitely say do as much as you can to where you know what you can handle before you hire somebody. Don't hire somebody right now saying, well, I want to hit 800, I have to hire somebody, because chances are you could probably do that by yourself, no doubt. Yeah. That's my advice. Do as much as you can by yourself. But I don't know if you have anybody that can help you, that would be great, to where you could scale it to 2,500 listings. It's just crazy because the more you have listed, the more questions you have, the more returns you have, the more things that could go wrong. It's not all positive things, but everything is multiplied.
Yeah, I had that today. Like, a lady sent me a message. Can I see a front and back picture of the jeans long ways? Because I usually don't take that shot, and I'm like, means you got to go get them. Karn actually got them and took the photos, and then I have to send them to them and attach them to the message, you know, which I did, and attach it to the listing too. There's a little tip, and maybe you guys already know that, but if you reply to somebody and they had a question, add that reply to your listing, guys, because then the next person who asks, you can refer them to it. You don't have to go back because I hate touching an item again until, like, I like to list it, and then the next time I want to touch it is when it's sold. I don't like to touch it anymore because I know it just feels like I'm wasting time, because you don't know if that person's going to buy it or not. One other question here was from Turtle Trader, said, does Tino snipe shoes on auctions? Tino?
What was that question again?
Do you snipe shoes on auctions?
I do. I've bought a lot of shoes on auctions, and I'll use a sniping it's a web-based software. It's called Jixa, I think. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Gix.
I haven't heard of. I don't snipe auctions though, but it sounds pretty cool.
But anyways, there's a lot of amateurs on eBay selling stuff, and they put it as an auction, and they just don't know what they're doing. And I'll just, if I know I could sell those shoes for $100, I'll place a $40 bid on it. And I've bought quite a few, and I've made quite a bit of money buying on eBay. And I don't have to go out to find those shoes. They get sent right to my front door.
That's the best kind of sourcing, right, Don?
Yeah, I was just, what is this sniping?
Jigsaw. Yeah, I mean, it's just the idea of buying it like right at the end of the auction, right? Getting it right as it's about to end.
Okay.
Right, but I could spend like 2 hours and find a bunch of items, and all I have to do is plug in the eBay item number and put in my highest bid, and I'm done. And
wow.
it could end the next day or 3 days from now at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it will bid for me.
Man.
And it's free. It's free for that service.
I need to start using that. It's called Jixer, Jixar.
It's Jixen, Gixen.
Gixen, Jixen. Okay, so we're just about to send them some business. So I might use that to start finding jeans. That would be nice, but it's a little trickier with those sometimes. Okay. Well, listen, guys. I think we're right at the time, and I want to be respectful of my guest time because they were very gracious to come on, and their first appearance on YouTube. I let them know that, you know, anything they wanted to share, if they wanted to plug their store, their website, you know, or anything like that, or, you know, social media, that's cool. I'll be glad to put that in the description if you guys want afterwards, but I have went and checked. I didn't want to just shout it all out because I didn't know what you thought or not on that. So if you guys want to do that, it's perfectly great, but
I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah, right. But I mean, you know, it's like everybody's got their own thing about it and whatever, you know. So, but I wanted to thank you guys for coming on because, man, you guys gave like such a great back and forth just feel to what it is to be in a couple different places with different products and different sourcing and a different mindset about eBay. And I think that's kind of missing sometimes in the reselling community because a bunch of us talking heads get on here and we end up saying a lot of the same dumb things, myself included. And sometimes the conventional wisdom is not really that conventional nor wise. So it's nice to hear somebody come in with fresh takes and a different approach to it. And I wanted to thank both of you guys for coming on. So thank you very much for that.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this show. Please hit the like button if you did. Lets me know I'm doing a good job. Leave a question or comment. I can probably get back in touch with Dawn or Tino if you have additional questions, but I don't know if they're going to be living and dying by the comment feed on this video or not. But if you have one, we'll try to get the question to them and see if they can answer and get an answer back. So. And consider subscribing. You'll see the little link. It'll come up at the end, the little annotation. You can subscribe to the channel and catch your Prof Sales Fix anytime you want. We're going to do more of these Connect shows. I've got about 10 people waiting in the wings to do this show now. They just came out of the woodwork. I was like, that's what I get for sending it out there. So there's going to be more people the rest of this month. So these are not going to be in. And we've got a couple guests coming on next month with Luke coming on, I want to say Tuesday night. And then none other than Steve Raiken will be on the show Wednesday afternoon. We're doing an afternoon show with the man himself, and that'll always be fun. But I want to thank you guys for tonight. And Tino and Dawn, thank you so much for coming on again. And thanks everybody in the chat for all the great questions. And thanks, Karin, for monitoring the chat. I was going to say that.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, listen, we're going to sign off now, and we'll catch all you guys real soon. And hope you have an awesome night and just go out there and kill those sales. All right, guys. That's going to do it for now. Take care.